Hey, it's your buddy Paul Allen, proudly a member of the Faith Family Covenant. Also, a racetrack announcer at Canterbury Park in Shakopee. So with the Preacher feature, of course, featuring Pastor Wes, when we finish the race with the Preacher feature, not only will we feel great with this version of the Preacher feature, but it reminds me of like a race. It's just so beautiful in the importance of finishing. Here at our YouTube channel, please hit subscribe and like, and stop by our church, Saturdays and or Sunday, Burnsville and Rosemount, faithfamilymn.org. Finish the race, Pastor Wes. Start the Preacher feature.
It's a grueling 500 miles from Sydney to Melbourne, Australia. That's the distance of the world's toughest and longest marathon. Back in 1983, professional runners from all over the world came together to participate in this marathon. They were all decked out in their Nike shirts and their professional apparel. They were all ready for the race. But just before the race began, something strange happened. An old 61-year-old man in overalls and boots walked up to the starting line. His name was Cliff Young. He wasn't dressed like all the other runners. He was clearly not a professional. The other runners assumed this must be some kind of a joke. Even people that were in the crowd began to snicker and laugh. But sure enough, he was there to run that race. When the gun sounded and the runners took off, what was already a comical situation became more outrageous, because Cliff started limping as he started to run. No one gave him a chance. He was too old. He was too unprofessional. He ran funny. So you can imagine everyone's surprise when Cliff not only finished that marathon, he won the marathon. You see, he didn't just win by a few seconds. He actually won by almost 10 hours. Australia was stunned. How in the world could a 61-year-old man who had never run a marathon before accomplish such a victory? What they did not know is that Cliff spent his life on a farm. He didn't own a horse or a four-wheel drive. He would round up his cattle by running, often for miles at a time, often all day long, and he built up something that none of the other runners had: endurance. You see, and this is amazing to think about, while all the professional runners ran for 18 hours and slept for 6, Cliff never stopped running. He ran for 5 days, 15 hours, and 4 minutes without ever stopping to sleep. He won not because he was professionally trained, but because he knew how to endure. You know, when it comes to life, endurance is an important quality. But when it comes to the Christian life, it is a necessity. Endurance is a part of what it means to be a Christian, to not give up, to not give in, to never throw in the towel. And oftentimes it's easy to want to quit and walk away. But listen to the imagery that the Bible uses about the Christian life. Share in the sufferings of a good soldier of Jesus Christ. An athlete is not crowned unless he competes according to the rules. A hardworking farmer ought to have the share of the crops. Fight the good fight of faith. In a race, all the runners run as one that receives the prize. Paul will even say, I do not box as one beating the air. I work harder than them all. In other words, for those of you watching who are believers in Christ, this issue of perseverance and endurance is essential to the Christian life. Discouragement hits. It's easy to quit. It's easy to throw in the towel, but the people of God always keep running. You know, the book of Hebrews talks about that for the joy that was set before him, Jesus endured the cross. Some of you listening right now are in a situation where you feel like giving up. You feel like throwing in the towel. And I want to remind you that in the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus was faced with the cup of his Father's wrath, knowing what he would have to go through, he didn't quit. For the joy that was before him, he endured the cross. I don't know what you're going through today, but I believe that God will give you the strength and the power to not quit running.